Hi, and welcome to Hopscotch. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to make Crossy Road, which is a game where you control a chicken that's trying to get to the top of the screen without getting hit by any cars. In the process of making this game, we're going to learn some basic coding concepts like sequences, loops, events, and the X and Y axis. So let's dive in. So the first thing we're going to do is add our main character. And to find characters, you want to tap on this gray plus button in the top left corner of the screen. So I'm going to pick the chicken emoji, but you can pick any character you want. But if you're going to pick emoji, then you want to drag out a text object. So in order to get emoji, you need to enable the emoji keyboard on your iPad settings. So pause here if you haven't done that yet. But if you have, you should see this button right here. And I'm going to pick emoji. So now the chicken that I'm looking for is an animal, so I need to scroll until I find that. And I believe it's right here. Cool. So I've picked my character. Once you've done that, press done. And we have our main character. Next, what I want to do is add control buttons that move the chicken around. So those are also emoji. So I'm going to go to this gray plus button again and pull out another text object. So this first one is going to be the up button. So go to emoji again and go all the way to the buttons on the far right end of the emoji menu. I'm going to pick up, which is right here. Press done. And I'm going to pull out left, another text object, go to emoji, go all the way till you see left, press done. Then I'm going to pick right, another text object, drag that out, go to emoji, and then find the right arrow. Very cool. And now I have my controls. Great. So now, in order to get these buttons to make the chicken move, we need to create rules for the chicken. So tap on your main character and add a new rule. And now we're in the When's menu. This is where you decide when your object does what you tell it to do. This is also referred to as an event. An event is when something happens. So here, let's go to More under iPad is tapped and find Blank is tapped. And we're going to pick the up button. And what this means is that this rule will happen when you tap on this button. Now press check on the bottom right here. And what we want to happen is we want chicken to move up a little bit. To move, we're going to go to the red movement tab. And to go up or down, we want to use the change Y by block. So to explain change Y by, I'm going to exit out of this rule for a second. You don't have to. When you move an object around on your screen, you may notice two numbers next to it. These are its coordinates. The first number measures how far the character is on the left to right axis, or the x-axis. The second number measures how high the character is on the up-down axis, or the y-axis. The bigger y is, the higher you are. The bigger x is, the further to the right you are. So let's go back to the editor. In this rule, the when up button is tapped rule. And so we're changing y by some number. So tap on this oval next to change y by. And we want to add in a number that will make chicken move up a little bit. And so to go up, we want a positive number, and I'm going to pick 25. Press check. Now to see what we've done, we can press the top right corner play button right over here. So when I press the up button, when that event occurs, let's see what happens. Nice. Okay. Does that work with the other buttons yet? No, because we haven't made rules for chicken about these two buttons yet. So let's do that. So go back to the edit button and exit out of this rule, which you can do either by tapping on this X or anywhere outside of the rule. Let's add a new rule. So for this event, which when do we want to pick? We want to pick the same one we did last time, which is blank is tapped. And now we're going to pick the left button. Press check. And so when the left button is tapped, we want the chicken to move, so go to the red movement tab. So if change Y by moved the chicken up or down, what block do we need to use to move the chicken left? Change X by. Here we want to use a negative number because we want to subtract from its X position. So we're going to pick minus 25 because that moves the chicken left. If we put a positive number there, the chicken would move right. So let's see what happens. You tap up, it goes up. You tap left, it goes left. Awesome. Let's go back to edit and let's make our final rule. So go out of here, add a new rule, and pick blank is tapped once again, and this time pick the right button, press check, and now let's go to movement. To move right, we use which block? Change X. So drag that out. And now if moving left was -25, how do we move right? +25, because we're making the X coordinate bigger. Press check, and now let's see what happens. Very cool. Okay, so we have a fully moving chicken, and now we can make our cars. So go back to edit, and the car I'm going to use is going to be an emoji. So I'm going to go to this gray plus button and pull out another text object, and I'm going to go to the emoji tab, and I'm going to look for cars. Where are cars? Cool. So the first one's going to be this red one. Press done. Okay, so I'm going to move the car over here, and now let's make the car move around. But before we do that, let's take a look at the finished game again. Pay attention to what the car is doing and see if you can make a list of the steps it's taking. What does it do first? Then what does it do? This is called a sequence, and it's an ordered list of instructions that can be repeated. So now that we have some idea of what the car is doing, let's see if we can recreate that. So add a new rule to the car and pick when the play button is tapped, which means this will start when the game starts. And the first thing we're going to do is make the car move. So go to the movement tab and pull out this block, move forward. Move forward works a little differently from change X or change Y. Normally, it moves your character to the right if you're using a positive number in the bubble, and to the left if you're using a negative number. If you flip a character, then move forward will go in the opposite direction. Then if you move forward with a positive number, it will go left this time, and with a negative number, it will go right. So in this case, we're going to move it -900 because we want the car to move to the left. Then we want to flip the car so it's facing the other way. And you can find that block right here. So let's drag that right under. And now we want the car to move forward again -900 because this time, since the car is flipped, that will make it go right. So instead of adding more and more of these blocks, we're actually just going to repeat this process. So go to the Control Flow blue tab and pull out a Repeat Forever block. And bring that all the way up above these two. And drag these two blocks inside this Repeat Forever loop. And make sure they're in this order, because they're a sequence. Order is important. So now the car will move forward, then will flip, and then move forward again, and then flip again, so on and so forth forever. So let's see what that looks like. Cool. Okay, so I actually want to make one more change because the speed of this car is pretty constant and I want it to change so that this game is a little harder. So let's go back to edit and let's add one more block. So go all the way up to the movement tab again and find set speed and pull that out and place it under the flip block inside the repeat forever. And let's set the speed to random, which is this operator right here, and set it from any number between 200, which is pretty slow, to 600, which is a little bit faster. And let's see what that looks like. Cool. So it's different speeds each time, which is going to be tricky to get past. Okay, let's go back to edit. Now let's exit out of this rule. And let's now make a rule so that when the chicken bumps the car, the chicken goes invisible and the game ends. Okay, so because this event is going to affect the chicken, we want that to be the chicken's rule. So tap on your character that's crossing and add a new rule. And for the when, we want to pick a collision, which is when the chicken bumps the car. So we're going to find that in more. So tap more and find bumps. So the two things we want to bump are chicken, and then tap on this second bubble to pick that, and pick car for the second bubble, and press check. Cool. So now, in this event, we want the chicken, if this ever happens, to turn invisible. And to do that, we're going to go to the green Looks and Sounds tab, and pull out Set Invisibility. And let's set that to 100. So set invisibility is an interesting block. If an object's invisibility is 0, that means you can see it completely. It's 0% invisible. If an object's invisibility is 100, then you cannot see it at all. And that's what we want in this case. So let's see what happens. Press play. And if we hit the car, then the chicken disappears and you can't play anymore. Cool, and that's what we want. Cool, so let's add another car to make this a little trickier. So to add a car, we're going to go to the objects menu and pull out another emoji, and we're going to pick a different car this time. So let's find this yellow one. Works. Cool. Let's drag it over here with that first car, and let's add a new rule. When the play button is tapped, and we're going to have it do the same thing the last car did, but I don't want to repeat myself and write all that code again. So I'm actually going to exit out of this rule, and I'm going to go to this first car again, and I'm going to go to this rule that we created before, and I'm going to create an ability. So you see this My Abilities tab? If you press on this gray plus button right here, we can add an ability, and let's call it Drive Around. Press Create, and now you have a new white block. If you drag it up here, then you can drag the code you had before into this block. And then if you close it up, all that stuff you wrote is now in this one block, and this is an ability. So let's exit out of here, and let's go to this yellow car, and go back to the rule when the play button is tapped, and just drag out Drive Around. And now, all that stuff we wrote before is in here again. So let's see what happens. Cool. And remember, you have to add a new collision rule for this other car. So let's do that quickly. If you exit out of this rule and go here to the chicken again, we need to add a rule so that when our crosser bumps the yellow car, it sets invisibility again. So add a new rule, pick bumps. For the first bubble, pick the chicken or whatever your crosser is. For the second bubble, pick the yellow car, press check. And then you can set invisibility again, which is in looks and sounds. So set invisibility, 100. Okay, lastly, let's add a prize at the end of this game. So add one more object, drag it up here. So then go to emoji and pick something you want. It could be a trophy, it could be corn, it could be birthday cake. I don't know, I'm going to pick corn. Press done. Okay, so I want to make one more rule, which is that when the chicken bumps the corn, I want to see that I've won the game. This is called a win state. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab a new text object, and where it says set text here, I'm just going to press cancel, which means that there's no word here yet. Then I'm going to add a new rule, and for the when, I'm going to pick bumps, because what I want to happen is that when the chicken bumps the corn, the following will happen. So pick chicken for the first bubble, tap on the second bubble and pick corn for that, press check. And now I want to go to looks and sounds and pull out set text. So this block changes your object into whatever text you write into this bubble. So to write a new word in here, you press on this keyboard right over here. So let's remove new text and let's type in whatever you want, but I'm going to write you win. Woo! Okay. And let's see if it worked. Okay, so I'm the chicken trying to get past these cars. It's really dangerous. Don't know why this chicken wants to do this. And then I did it. Cool. Cool, so one last thing. If you want these objects to be bigger, I'll just do it for chicken. You can tap on the object and then make a new rule that says when the play button is tapped, when the game starts, we're going to set the size. So go to looks and sounds, drag out set size, and this is size as a percent. So 100% would be the normal size that you start with. So if we want the chicken to be twice as big, we can pick 200. Press play, and now the chicken is a little bit bigger. And you can do the same thing with the cars. And there you go, you have a finished Crossy Road game. Cool, you just made a working version of Crossy Road. Now see if you can add additions of your own, like cool background, or more obstacles like cars, or maybe even animals. And remember, coding is a creative activity, so don't be afraid to play around and explore as you add to your project. See you next time.